there everyone. So today I'm going to do the Queen and the Royal Family. And their energy towards the community that visit them during these times. So, you know, they do a lot of walkabouts. And so I just want to see what their true energy is towards the public. Because they're another family that's scrutinised. Yeah, so immediately I'm picking up on the frustration, the anxiety, just feeling very caged in, but also they understand like that they're needy. They feel that the public is needy and that they are there to compensate them in some way. But they really do take the position with the general public, you know, that they're absurd, that they're a bit silly. And, you know, it's such a frustration to the royal family in general. You know, that it causes them quite a bit of confusion and rage. That's how they feel. So they're holding in anger. They're holding in quite a bit of frustration towards the general public. And I feel that it's affected their faith towards others, their faith in God and their faith towards others. And they don't portray that at all. You know, everybody has the understanding that they are very faithful people with extremely astute moral values. And that's not to say that isn't the case for all of them. But it's showing here that they really don't like the general public. They don't like them because they're, you know, they come across a bit simpleton, a bit needy. You know, they have people fawning over them all the time. That's what it says. And also it causes for them to feel like they can't get out. They can't see the world. And I feel because of that, they become very insular. They're a type of insular person or insular group of people that has frustrations. So the reports that you get, the varying reports that you get about there being some anger there, some betrayal, some anxiety, that's all true and correct. That's all true. So what's the energy they're placing on the general public that they meet and greet? Oh, just unfairness. Frustration, unfairness. They don't want there to be any type of balance in their the public's lives. They don't that they meet and greet. They don't want that. They want to be justified in feeling that they are being antagonized in some way or have been antagonized, and so the energy that the general public gets back is quite tough. You know, like I wouldn't stand at the front of a line and shake a royal's hand, let's put it that way, if I wanted things to turn out well. Because they're not sharing positivity, they're sharing negativity. And of course it depends on how much you believe in energy exchange, but that's what it shows. So basically, you know, we're dealing with people that feel betrayed in some respect and people that do betray. So how does that filter down into a more personal respect? And the answer is, well, there's been plenty of publications suggesting how that works and how that is. You know, it's like somebody so frustrated with the job at hand that they need to quit, but they never do because you know, it becomes like a game of the foolish against the fooled kind of thing. You know, it's never, it never ends. It's a cycle that never ends. It's a frustration they cling to it and a frustration they thrive on because they feel they have no other choice. They feel they're trapped in that situation. And I guess there are divorces, of course. There are people leaving. And that's just a reflection of you know, that whole energy around feeling very dissatisfied. You know, and you can ask, well, why don't they just go about taking a back seat and dissolving their situations? And the answer to it is that they feel that the institution in which they were brought up is a much stronger adversary than the general public in who they have to answer to or play fiddle to, whatever. So it's very ingenuine, it's very toxic, and I can understand here, I'm not an anti-monarchist, but I can understand here how it is. People bring up republicism. I understand that from looking at this, because I feel there's a sense there. You know, there's always been a sense though, like at certain points in history, something has happened. And the general public has questioned their morality or their sense of purpose. But because there's an image that is upheld most of the time, it kind of falls by the wayside. But what it's saying here is those questions are justified. There is an ingenuineness to the exchange between the royal family and the public. You know, and what are they going to do? That's what these cards are saying. They know they are trapped. And it would bring no sense of relief if the country went republic. The reason for that is because they've built up a level of competitiveness against, you know, everything, against everybody, against their people, against the world. The level of competitiveness or the level of drive that they've built up is so overwrought now that it's like a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle now. So that's why they'll never let it go until they're forced to. And it's a strong hand that would take them down. Not because of their history, not because there's a show of weakness within them, but just because it's like for the sake of things, you know. It's very much reminds me of the Marie Antoinette outcome, but that, you know, it's obviously things have progressed over time and the people aren't poor anymore, but it's sort of reversed. You know, they feel like they're obviously not ignorant of what's happening in the community because they're always out there. It's just that they don't care. They do it because they have to. They have to do it. That's what upholds their image, because they're representatives of the people. But, you know, with the Marie Antoinette thing, it's like the people felt they had no representative and there was a revolt. And the thing that prevents things from getting out of hand, I feel is that image, is the fakeness, is the face, the very stony face. That's what prevents it. The unanswered question prevents it. The unanswered questions prevent it. But people know because they question it, you know. And also, you know, it's a much more congenial society in some respects. And that also prevents there from being an uproar. Plus, I think there was a recent show of footage of Charles and his pen leaking, and he's saying, you know, fuck, I hate this. You know, that's the type of energy that comes across very clearly in the cards. You know, they just can't stand those people anymore. And you can understand it because it's like you're getting a lot of different, you know, you're getting a lot of different people in those crowds. You're not exactly getting genuine monarchy lovers. You're not getting that. But, you know, it would be but it's turned into something else. Besides being a frustration, it's turned into a faithlessness. And that's what's very dangerous here. Because if it's turned into a faithlessness, it means that they're dabbling in energies that do not serve anyone too well. Do not serve the community especially. So it's saying here, it's a big lie. It's a big lie. They'll betray their community. They'll betray one another. And they'll basically do that very swiftly and very aggressively and without notice. So they will, because it's born of a type of sadness, it shows a level of competitiveness of the Queen Elizabeth II, her competitiveness, her drive to hold on to a role that may not suit her personal interest, but which she'd never let go of because she's competing against a bigger force, you know, which is the progression of time. So she was a very competitive woman, very aggressive in her outlook towards the people, even though it's saying she was very caring. She appeared to be a very caring. What it's saying is she could be overly emotional person, but it's turned into a type of resentment. It turned into a type of resentment in the end. And they sort of did things a little bit sneakily, and it's turning into a progressive lie, you know, a progressive facade. That's what it says here. So it's bad. It's not getting any better, because those habits, you know, the Queen was competitive, quite an aggressive lady, but, you know, on the face of her, she seemed quite congenial. And if you look at her background and, you know, her, you know, what she probably had to put up with from a young age, it's totally understandable that she would turn into somebody who is secretly aggressive to, you know, keep the wheel turning. That's what it says. The only thing that prevents it from totally turning askew here is not much. It says it's the positivity of the people towards the family that keeps it going in the end, but that ultimately there is a demise here, because they start eating away at one another. The family starts eating away at one another. They start to dissolve, you know, everything corrodes. Not because she's not here anymore, but because those energies that have built up over the time can't be suppressed anymore. And the reason they can't be suppressed, I guess, is because the Queen Elizabeth II did put a lid on things. She put a lid on it. But what it's saying is, now that she's gone, it's going to start boiling over. The kitchen's going to get much hotter. Things are going to be exposed that would not otherwise have maybe been, they would have been exposed, but again, if she was still around, she tried to put, and she was at a more cognitive age, she would have put a lid on it. She would have kept putting a lid on it. But she can't do that anymore because she's not here. And the person that's taken over, he's Charles. He's an overly emotional person, but it's turned into something negative because, you know, of the type of thing he puts up with. So, you know, he gets leaky pens and he gets frustrated. You know, that's what it's saying. So, you know, it's saying they're going to start eating away at one another, and the only thing holding it up is the general public's positivity, which isn't much. Which means we're going to be seeing more incidents, more catastrophe, more things coming to the surface, more betrayals, you know. It seems to me there's more that has to come to the surface, and that it will. Because it's not, they haven't been positive during the years in their reign. They've been negative, and all that energy is just swirling. It's insulating, it's swirling, and because she's not there to put a lid on it, in whichever way she did that, by being stony faced, by being out there and putting an ear to the general public during her visitations, whatever she used to do to keep an eye on things, that's not going to be there. It's not that Charles is less effective at trying to keep things under control. It's just that whatever he uses to try to keep a lid on it won't be as effective, because the energy is so malfunctioned, and you know, it's not going to turn out well. Could it be just ultimate destruction of the royal family? Well, yes, it could be. They could implode. That's what it says. But how would that reign? How would that end up in the end? It says, well, the power transfers to the people. The power transfers to the people. So it's very difficult. It's a very difficult energy. Okay, so So that was my reading on the royal family. I'll see you next time.